This is Sara.
And this is Tina, #fearlessqueens. We strive to create content to help heal the world, one episode at a time. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast today. And we were sitting here having some conversations, and we were going to talk about one thing, and the Lord led us to another thing. So, Sara, what are we talking about today?
My mantra. It ran in my family until it ran into me. That's my own personal mantra, but that is the topic of discussion is it ran in your family, in my family, in your family until it ran into me, into you, into you. And that means that we all have a decision to make from where we've come from and where we're gonna go.
Yeah, so you might ask, what exactly does that mean? So thinking back to the choices that I've made in my life, and where did I learn that? Where did I learn those choices? It's usually from the people we're with, but up until the age of, I think, 7, we're really learning a lot from our parents. And so I have, on my journey, chosen to not hate my parents for things that I thought they put me through, but I started to ask questions, and I started to learn about their parents. And then I asked questions of my grandma and learned about her parents, and it was starting to make sense. And so we're going to break that down for you a little bit today and share how you can basically stop what some people call them generational curses. I don't think it's a curse. I really don't. I think it's just learned patterns over time that started way back in the garden.
Yeah.
And it's up to you, me,
generational,
her,
yeah,
to make the shift, to make the change, to be the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Generational meaning so in my family, alcoholism runs in it. My dad was an alcoholic, his dad was an alcoholic, but years later, side story, found out that actually wasn't his dad, his biological dad, but a product of the environment. So it's nature versus nurture almost. But who's to say that his biological dad wasn't an alcoholic either? So that's also a thing. But also on the flip side, my mom is an alcoholic as well. And so
and like attracts like. We're drawn to people like us, and we're drawn to someone who's either going to help us flourish and grow, or we're drawn to someone who's going to feed our addiction, whatever that is.
Totally. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Set up.
Totally. And so with that being said, I had the perfect examples, and I say this all the time. I had the best examples of what not to do. The best examples of what kind of marriage not to have, what it is to not have good communication. It was just a very volatile, toxic household. And so I never wanted anything like that. And then I kind of fell into exactly that in my own way and in a different thing. And it taught me many different lessons. And I wouldn't be who I am now had I not gone through that kind of a relationship. However, you say that we attract what we are, not what we want, unless that is what we are. So I could say all day long, I want somebody who loves me and I want somebody who's respectful and kind, but if I'm not loving, respectful, and kind to myself, I can't be that to others. So in the past, I had attracted somebody who was controlling, manipulative, overbearing, and I wouldn't have attracted that had that not been something that I had in me.
And do you think that's how your parents were with one another?
Yes, and for a long time before I had the awareness, because you don't know what you don't know until you know, and then once you know and have that awareness and understanding, you get to decide what you want to do about it. So before I knew that I was not aware that I was going down the same similar path my parents had been going down, God literally slapped me in the face. Not physically, but spiritually in a sense, in this physical realm. I was in a car accident. So he kind of did hit me, and it all happens for our greatest good. Nothing's ever happening to us. It's happening for us. We live life forward, but we learn it backwards. And I can now take that part of my life and connect the dot and be oh, that's where all this change started to occur for me. And when I started to wake up and have the awareness of I don't have to walk down the same path that was provided for me, paved for me, because so many people are walking this road that everybody's walking down. The whole world's walking down this big main highway road because it's easy, because it's comfortable, because so many other people are doing it. And this podcast exists because we want you to follow the yellow brick road. I've said this a few times, Tina said this a few times about the Wizard of Oz analogy, but truly, the fruits of the Spirit, the yellow brick road is God's road, and it's a narrow pathway that not everybody's going to find in this lifetime, but heaven is a place of paradise, abundance, and eternal life. And I want all my loved ones, family, friends, and their family and friends to be a part of heaven, because it's going to be a lonely place in eternity alone if I'm the only one there. If we're the only two people there, and like our families aren't there. So that's exactly why it ran in my family, because I'm the black. I've always kind of felt like I was the black sheep. Like I wasn't understood. Nobody really got me. It was always my fault, like blah, blah, blah.
I was adopted.
Yeah, like I don't really look like my parents.
Tried
like,
to convince me I was adopted.
God.
It was bad. But I think that it's important in all of this for us to convey, like, this isn't about our parents and hating our parents. Like, we have actually learned that they did the best with what they've been given, and they are making choices based upon what they learned. And I think that hating your parents or being angry at them for what they put you through, and I say it in quotations because, again, they did the best they could with all the information and knowledge that they had. And even if you don't believe, I promise if you go and have a conversation, an adult, non-judgmental, non-confrontational conversation, you will learn that they too went through hard things. They too went through challenges. My parents went through things with their parents, and my grandparents went through things with her parents. Honestly, my great grandma and grandpa were alcoholics. And my grandpa and grandma would go and pick them up at the bar when my grandma was dating my grandpa. Like, out of the alley, pick them up because they were so drunk in the alley. Like, so it's crazy that you were just talking about that. Like, we've talked about this before, but like, it just hit me. Like, and I too went down the road of drinking because it's like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna numb it.
So it ran in your family. You're telling me this. It ran in your family. It was in your grandma. It was in your mom. It was in your great-grandma. And then it ran into you.
Yep. Well, my grandma stopped it when she was 24.
Oh, okay.
But by that time, my mom was already an adult going out into the world. And I love my parents. Like, my parents are absolutely amazing. They were definitely handpicked for me from God. But I'm going
to stop you right there. Everybody's parents are picked for you from God. Even if you hate them, even if you don't like them, even if you don't understand, because I was a human being who despised both of my parents at one point in time, and especially for what they had put me through. And what Tina said earlier was they did the best they could with what they know how, and in all of that, Burr is forgiveness.
I ran away 3 times.
Say that again?
I ran away 3 times.
I ran away too.
Like, legitimately. Like, I thought at the time I was living in hell. And it's interesting because I've had conversations with my dad, and my dad actually, who's my stepdad, he's been around since I was a year. He's my dad. His father was abusive. And I don't know about his father because I never met my dad's father or grandpa or whatever. Anyways.
So
he
to
did the
all,
best.
I'm sorry, girlfriend, but to all the people who are stepping up and raising other people's kids, props to you, and to everybody who is doing the job and parenting their child with love and grace from the get-go. Like, congrats to you, and all the people who will hear this and know and are being convicted and feel uneasiness while we're talking about this, and they have left their children or they don't have a relationship. Like, this is your opportunity, this is your sign and your message that it's never too late.
We were just listening to a podcast about a woman who, like, accomplished this whatever, and she's 70. 70. And she's
mentoring people. She could have retired 25 years ago.
Yeah. And you're you literally are never too old to live the life that you want to live, to be the person, to be the mom, to be the dad, to be the friend, to be the aunt, to be the uncle that you are meant to be. And it's crazy because we need to stop going into the past and looking at our parents with judgment.
Right. You look back and you see where they've come from, so you can see it in that lens and be like, okay, what can I do differently? As a society in whole, we always, we look at history and we're learning from history, but we're just repeating it. What are we actually learning from history?
Yeah.
It should be different. But here we are doing the same thing that they're doing from the Bible. Like, we're all killing each other, we're all divided against each other, we're all lying to one another.
Worshipping different idols and having
hatred. We're not leading with love.
Parties.
We are here to be a beacon of light and to lead with love with everything that we do. And
so maybe we share a little bit about how we have made the shift in our lives, and how we have learned to love our parents even in the pain, even in the hurt, even where we think they went wrong. How have you, because yours is way more recent than mine. Mine happened when I had Jeffrey, and I'm like, well, I certainly can't have a kid with, like, I have no idea what to do, so I'm going to need her help. But, like, for you, yours is really recent.
So it's, the number one answer is God for me. And because without him, I wouldn't have a relationship with either one of my either one of my parents. Without God, my mom would be dead.
Why do you say that? How do you know?
It's this peace. It is this unknowing knowing that, like, without prayer, without God, she was, like, down the wrong road. Like, my mom was physically here, but her eyes weren't here. Her brain was not here. The person who had raised me was no longer, her soul was not in her body. That's, like, the best way I can try to describe that. And growing up, like, my mom was my mom and my dad, because my dad was there physically because he was working and he took care of us financially, but he was scary. I just, when I say I hated him, I was like a first grader throwing fits, like not wanting to go to school, just like hate, like angry. Like, I grew up bitter and just full of rage and hate. I remember as a kid just being just always mad. But you would never know that until I was at home, because I was a good kid. I was a good student. It was like a switch that would turn on and off when I would go back home.
Because you were in that environment.
Yes, I was a product of my environment until I wasn't, and then I was like learning to be me without the extension of my family when I started going to school.
So I think when we are in a certain environment, we just naturally start to
gravitate.
Like the 5 people you surround yourself with are the people you are like. So if you're in a home that's turmoil, that's angry, that's fighting, that's abuse, that's drinking, whatever it is, how do you not take that in? It is like everything has like little molecules of energy. So like your dad had energy, like food, like everything has energy, and you're surrounded by it. So it would make sense that when you go out into school, and school at a young age is usually playful and fun and enjoyous, and your friends, and then, like, I don't know about you, I liked riding the bus when I was like in grade school. Like, it was all fun. So it would make sense because you are like your environment.
Yes.
Totally.
And that...
Which is probably why I ran away, because I'm like, I gotta get out of this environment.
Yes.
And my brothers would pick on me, which I know is so normal, but like I remember like I had like knives out one time and I threw eggs at them, and I like moved my bed in front of my door, and I was so pissed off at my parents that they would leave me at home with my brothers. I'm like, this is horrible, like 3 boys and a girl, like really? But I look back at it now and I'm like, I am a tough cookie.
Yes.
Because I was at home with 3 boys and I wouldn't put up with anything. Maybe caused some challenges with people that I dated. I was wanting to be very alpha, right? But then you heal.
Yes.
And then you get therapy. And we need to normalize therapy, because if you have had anything challenging in your life with your parents, you need to work on what's going on, because they're not changing.
No.
I mean, I would say the one thing that changed was my mom stopped drinking. When shortly after I stopped drinking, she stopped with me. My dad actually is very respectful. He doesn't really drink much around me at all. And I didn't tell him to, it just happened.
So that's the ripple effect, the butterfly effect. You found something within you, because everybody points the finger at everybody else, but there's always 3 fingers pointing back at you, and you took the initiative, you changed, you said, no, I am not an alcoholic, I am Tina, and I'm going to do this better than what I had in front of me.
Yeah.
And so then you started to change, and then the ripple effect of you changing turned into your mom and your dad, and now the extension of like your new brand, like you're whole full-blown married now.
Well, and here's the thing. I know.
She has a whole new life because
Literally.
of Jesus.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. during that process, it didn't just like flow like this. Like, I didn't talk to my parents for probably about a year. They never said this, but they didn't necessarily agree with my divorce, and they were still talking to my ex-husband at the time. And I was like, this isn't about me, or this isn't about me, this isn't about them, this is about the Lord and what he's doing through all of us. And so I needed to double down on prayer and being alone and being with myself and being so confident in my choice with him that I knew that it would come around the way that God wanted it to. And so there was probably a solid like 6 months I didn't talk to my parents.
Yes.
And it sucked. I was like, I felt so alone, I felt so lonely, but like I had to do the work. And I had to be so confident when I am around them that if they did decide to drink, I wouldn't be pissed off by it.
Right, it's learning boundaries. That was a huge thing as well. So
they didn't change as much as I did. It's not about the other people. It's about you and what lives right in here.
Amen. So back to like, I kind of very much digress on like my mom, but
we like to do that.
We do. If you haven't noticed already, we like go on tangents and then we come back. It's all full circle.
It is all full circle. It's all connected.
It totally is. It's so, long story, like I didn't have a relationship with my mom or my dad growing up. Like I was just gone all the time. And I remember like my first goal ever was to just get out of my house. I wanted to leave. Like 14 years old, I remember crying at the park, like what am I doing? Like running away. And then I remember when I got a dog, I was probably like 19. And same scenario again, but now I'm 5 years later, I have a dog now and I'm getting kicked out of my house. And I'm like, what am I doing? What is the point of all of this? And then, you know, God just randomly gives me a place and roommates 2 days later. Like, those are God things, like, but God. Like, there's no other way. But then miraculously, out of thin air, the opportunity arises to make your life different, to be better. But, yeah, my mom...
Those aren't coincidences.
No.
Like God is like doing so many different things. Like even thinking about the different challenges that I have experienced and like why would you take me through like losing my brother? Like why? Like that is just ridiculous. Like I was crying on the floor the other day, like just tears pouring out after 4 years. But like I also was saved. And my life dramatically changed. Not because like God didn't go and like kill my brother so that I could be saved, but like we have to find purpose in every single pain and suffering that we go through because there has to be purpose.
There
like,
does.
I firmly believe there's purpose in every single amount of pain that we experience. It's just, are you going to do something about it or are you going to suffer? Like we wake up in the morning, we have two choices. We tell our kids, like you can be mad that you lost the game or you can play it again and be better. Like we're working on one of them who gets very upset when he loses, but he gets very boastful when he wins. And I'm like, this is normal. I think there's many adults who act that way.
Right.
And that's, I'm totally going to digress on that one. I'll stop.
Basically, like, when I found myself in the same situation that I had told myself forever that I would never be like my parents, I would never be like my mom, and then I was 25, 26 years old and found myself in a very similar situation, in a relationship that was not...
what you believe God wanted for you?
Yes, it was not... God brought me to him. Like, I wouldn't be me without him. Like, I learned many, many things. However, it was for a season. It wasn't for a lifetime. It was a lesson to be learned in it because like Tina and I always will say, everything's happening for you, not to you. So what are the lessons that you're learning while you're going through something?
Okay, let me ask you this. So do you feel like in that relationship, you were going down the same path your mom and dad were going
Yes.
down? Okay, so what was the moment when you were like, now again, I was with you at like a lot of it, so I know how hard it was after it happened, but what was the moment where you realized, I'm going down the same pattern as my parents? Like, what was that moment? I know it was lots of little moments.
It was lots, but the very last thing was, it was 4 months to the date that I was supposed to get married to this man. And
how many people were supposed to be at the wedding?
I never even sent out invitations. But like
you had down payments though.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes. Everything was like ready to go. It was okay until it wasn't. Like I realized like I was changing and you can't change somebody else, and I was falling in love with somebody else's potential, and that's also dangerous. Like I am not somebody's savior. I can't save somebody. And I watched my mom try to save my dad many times for years and years and years. And that's what broke her down to literally lose mental, cognitive, conscious. Like, she was not here on this earth because of all the trauma and all the stuff that she just kept burying down. And then it just made her not a human being anymore. Like, her soul could not take anymore. But God. And she is here, and my dad is here, and I love them both. And that's coming from somebody who used to hate both of them. And I forgave them because of what Tina said at the beginning. God only knows what they went through as kids, and they gave me the best with what they knew how to do. Just like Tina and I are doing the best with what we know how to do with where we're at this moment.
And I kind of probably went the other way. I actually went through it even though I knew things were not okay. And the similar thing happened, like in my divorce. I'm like, I got to get out of here. This is horrible. This is not where I'm meant to be.
It was bringing out, I was changing. Like, I was trying to change, and it was bringing out old patterns in me that I was like, I can't do this. Like, I hit the ground so hard at the very end of it, and I'm like, oh no. This hand is more important than you, because I'm only getting one hand. There is 7 billion other people here. And if I can't keep my composure, there's something going on that should not be.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up in violence. I grew up in hatred. I grew up in yelling and screaming, and that's how we communicated. And I was doing the same thing. And I was not going to do that.
Yep. I went through it. Like, I was in the alcoholism, and I was trying to change, I was trying to change him, which in my mind, I'm like, well, this is for the better. Like, not drinking is obviously healthier for multiple reasons for you, and I'm like, I can't change him. He doesn't want to stop drinking. He doesn't want more in his life. He's content with status quo life. And I wasn't okay with it. And I was shifting, I was evolving, I was learning about what we're here to do, which is to bring people to Jesus. To bring people to the joy, to the peace, to the love. And it's in that journey that I think we both have seen, like, the only way to get there is healing with Christ.
Yes, and what you just said is the peace. Because I grew up in chaos. I then was in a relationship that was very chaotic. So I did not learn what peace was until I got out of that. And that was about a year or so ago now. So this is very fresh for me to learn what peace is internally. And how I can best describe that is, I can take a deep breath and I don't feel it all just lying in my chest. My mind isn't racing every 2 seconds, just going on and on all the time. It's very calm, it's very at ease. And then when you're around people or around certain situations, or you're thinking about things that aren't bringing you that calmness and that sense of relief, then that's not peaceful and that's not of God. And I challenge you to check in with yourself at that point and be like, why do I feel this way? Because it's your gut, it's your intuition, it is God telling you that something's off. And
this isn't this, you hit it completely spot on. And this isn't to say, like, you go around someone and you say, you're making me uneasy. No. That's where you go in internally and you have a conversation like, Lord, show me why I feel uneasy. But then you listen when he tells you, maybe this isn't the best situation for you. Like, for me, when my husband would drink, I would go upstairs and read. I didn't say, you shouldn't be drinking. I can't believe you're doing this. We spend no time together. I removed myself from the situation. If he wants to come up and have a conversation, not drinking, I'm happy to do that. And it didn't happen. Unfortunately, mine worked out in a different way, which is all good because look where I am now. But we want to, as we've said before, we want to share this information with you to prevent you from putting your hand on the hot stove.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that Sara was able to not go into that marriage. And this isn't anything against him. That's the thing. This is about her own internal journey. And we need to listen to our own truth, our inner voice. For me, it's God. My inner voice is God, and he speaks clearly. Am I going to listen to him? Am I going to walk away from a situation that's uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable? They need to be convicted of themselves. You can pray for that person.
Yes, and the prayer that I was taught to pray when I was trying to learn how to forgive my parents, but still feeling like, because just because you pray or say something doesn't mean that you have to feel that way. Okay, so I had this a mentor who told me to pray, change me and bless them.
Oh.
Change me and bless them. Anytime a thought came in that I was upset with somebody, that they were treating me bad, you know how you really piss off the devil and you give a punch in the face? You change me and you bless my enemy. You bless the people that are killing me right now. You bless the circumstances that are dragging me under, because God already won that battle that Satan is trying to take you down under in the current moment. But in the lifelong scheme of things, like the battle of every single thing that we're going to go through on this earth is already won.
And the change me, bless them, that prayer is for you. It is for you, and you are the only one who, with God, can change. Yes. You can't, oh, I wish they would do this, I wish they would do that, please help this person do this. No, change me and bless them. And what that will create is a joy and a peace in your heart. And when you're blessing them, that's what we're here to do. We're here to love. There's so many people in this world who hate, literally for no reason. So we are choosing to love. And if you get an opportunity to spend any time with us, I promise you, we'll find a million reasons to love. Because that's what we're on this earth to do.
Because it's not us, it's God. It is. I want to be less of Sara and more like Jesus every single day. Every single day. And when you pray, like Tina said, change me and bless them, God is going to bless them in the way to get them closer to Him. So that doesn't mean that they're going to get all this abundance and all of this like wonderful things happening and you're getting like pooped on. No, God is going to give you what you need, and He's going to give them exactly what they need to be able to hear Him in their own way. And while I was praying, change me and bless my parents, He taught me how to respond instead of react. And when I started to learn how to respond instead of react, and I wasn't reacting in the way I always learned how I was a product of my environment, and I started to just talk at the same level that I was being talked to, and they were poking at me, so I would poke back at them. And that's why it all ended. My last relationship ended because I stopped reacting and I started to respond, and I was not responding in the same way that his reactions had always been with me. I wasn't yelling with him anymore. I wasn't fighting and doing what he, like poking in the bear until my claws came out and finding something else to wrap the noose around. Taylor Swift right there. However, literally, I was doing what Tina was doing. I was listening to worship music. I was stepping outside and taking myself out of that. I was like, I need 10 minutes. And that was unsettling and uneasy at that moment for him. And that's what broke the camel's back. And that's when I realized it's not of God, and this is, our time has come to the end. It is meant for a season and not a lifetime. And not everybody in your life is for this entire life that you will live. Some people are branches. They will fall off, but they've been here for a little bit. And some people are like leaves. They're here and then gone with the wind. Yeah. And then some people are like roots, like Jesus Christ, and the people that you find who are rooted and planted in the same firm foundation that you are, like Tina and I are rooted in Christ. We are sisters in Christ. We are friends. I'm so grateful for you and I love you. However, it's different than other people and other friends that I have had in the past that weren't founded on the same foundation that you and I came to together. I love you. There. We started there, yes. And that's where I want to start every relationship. Because if it's not founded on something firm, it's like the sand.
Blows with the wind and breaks and shatters.
The big bad wolf is coming, and his name is Satan. And if your house is built on hay or sand, straw, sticks, the sand, if it's not built on bricks and firm foundation, which is God, it's going to crumble. And the world is offering you the sticks abundantly. It is offering you straw coming out of its butt, like it's just everywhere. You can find it all over because everybody has it. Very few people are handing out the bricks because they're heavy and it's not easy to carry, but it's structural and important. And if you want to be the change and see a difference in society, in your family. It starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray that you're the black sheep too, and that I challenge you to be different than where you came from, if that's called to you. And if you've had great parents, and if you've had great role models, like, you are blessed abundantly. There is a reason why you had a beautiful, wonderful human beings laid before you. So continue to be better than what you saw.
Yeah, and if you have had great parents and you've lost your parents, help their legacy of being a great parent live on by being a great human.
Yes.
Like, there's people who get wealth because their parents had wealth. Wealth washes away and it's expendable. You can burn it. I mean, literally. But love, true love, and kindness is not something you can buy.
No, your characteristic. Nobody can take those characteristics away from you. Who are you as a human being to your core? We are not our name. We are not what we look like. We are not our gender. Those are just things that make up us as human beings. But you are...
in the fleshly world.
Yes. We are these souls. These are just the vehicles that our souls are in.
Your character will live on. Your love will live on. Your joy will live on. And that's what is the most important thing to grow.
Absolutely. So we challenge you, like, talk to your parents if that's appropriate, and pray about it if that's not the time. But be who you needed to be. Like, right now, I'm 27 years old, but I truly feel like I'm 17 all over again. 27-year-old Sara is taking care of 7-year-old Sara and 17-year-old Sara. And I've learned to be who I needed to be, who my parents weren't for me then.
That's so crazy, because I totally feel that. Like, I'm 41, but I feel like I'm in my 20s again. Like, I feel like I'm living the life that I should have, which should is a, should a word. We shouldn't should all.
Coulda, shoulda,
right.
woulda.
But going back, like, the life I would have liked to live when I was 20 years old, I'm living now. And I'm grateful that I'm living it now, because now I have all the wisdom. However, we're giving you some of our wisdom. So
don't put your hand in the hot stove.
So utilize the wisdom to make better choices, to live a better life, because it's up to you. You are in charge of your life, and you are the only one who can make a shift. We can't expect the external world to change, because I'll tell you, watch the news for 10 minutes, it's not changing, it's actually getting worse, and the end may be near. So where are you going to go? What are you going to do?
Follow the yellow brick road. That's what we want you to do. But
go to the rainbow of God.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic that we'll get into, because the rainbow is truly from Jesus. It's the covenant that he had with Noah. This is a whole different topic. Read your Bible, and we will talk about that later. But talk to your parents.
And if your grandparents are living, go have conversations.
Yeah.
Like, I had the coolest conversations with my grandma and my grandpa, and it really gave me a knowing of why my parents were the way they were, and the changes my grandma made that are different from my great grandma.
Yes.
Like, my grandma could have went on the same path that my great grandma was on, and she's like, no. And so my grandma improved from my great grandma. My mom improved from my grandma. I'm improving from my mom. Like, we're all making the shift, but you can only do that when you really know. You really have to have some empathy for what your parents went through, or what your grandparents went through. Like, go have the conversations.
You have to flip that in your mind of like, oh, poor me, this happened to me, like, my parents did this to me. And then at one point, yes, that did all happen to you, but you don't have to stay there. That doesn't define you. You can turn and pave your own way.
Do you remember that book Elizabeth got you about the questions to ask your dad?
Yes.
So she got me the same book. We'll drop it in the comments below. She got me the same book, but for my mom. And so I have been asking my mom these like random questions that I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I ask her, and I find out crazy stuff. Like, my husband and I, we would like to have children. He's 46, I'm 41. And I'm like, I know there's like Sarai and Abram, and then they became Sarah and Abraham, and they had kids at like 100. And so we kind of laugh about that story. But like, my great grandma had my grandma when she was 41 years old.
Of course she did.
And I'm like, had I not gotten this book and asked these weird questions, it totally opened up this whole set of questions. And my niece was in the back seat, like, listening to it all. 2 of my nieces, actually. How cool is that?
Super cool.
Questions about their great-great-grandma.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's taking, like, yes, they are your parents, but before that they were your parents, they're also just human beings.
And they were little babies.
They were babies, they were kids, they were teenagers. They are somebody before they were your parent. And same thing with your grandparents and before that. So before you throw stones, just sit back and really like try to sit with everything that your family has been through or why they act the way they do, because it's not for no reason. They are only giving you what they know how to give at the best that they know how to. And if that's not anything great, we're praying for you. We love you. And there's hope on the other side. Like, we have both gone through crazy crap, but we wouldn't be smiling after the crazy crap if it wasn't like joy on the other side through it. But you have to get through it. So don't stop. Keep on keeping on. God's got you. We love you. Stay fearless.